In this episode, Roy saves Port Moresby from being blown off the map.
Welcome to Young Roy, a show which explores the adventures and misadventures of Roy Giesemann and the people, places and events that have influenced his life.
Welcome to episode number 6 of Young Roy, and on the line, all the way from sunny Melbourne, we have Roy himself. Let's welcome Roy. How are you today?
I'd like a welcome like that from the sun, Peter. It's not the best here today. I just checked the thermometer outside the house and it was 9 degrees at 10 o'clock. So
now we're moving in towards summer in Melbourne. It's October, late October, and it's 9 degrees outside.
That's correct.
But that is Melbourne for you, isn't it?
Yeah, plenty of showers too, Peter.
Right, so that's the weather forecast over and done with. Now, last week we were talking horses. It came up through your quiz contest that you entered, and when your main subject was horses. Now, there's been a big event in the media just recently to do with horses, and that was the announcement of the Don Award, which is an award to a major sporting personality. And would you like to tell the listeners what happened there, Dad?
Yeah, I'd love to, Peter. Peter, the Don Award, and see, in my youth, the Don, no one rarely you'd hear of anything else but the Don. Everyone in Australia and all around the cricketing world knew of his deed, Donald George Bradman, you know.
Yeah.
And someone got the smart idea in 1998 to introduce the Don Award.
Okay, so it's been going that long.
It's from 1998, yeah.
And that's for anyone in sport?
Any sport, whatever. Yeah, any sport. There's been skiing and golf and cricket and jockeys. But the big one was this year.
Horse racing.
It was horse racing. It's for the person who, through an event or a number of events, has been the most inspiring sportsman for the people of Australia for the year. And Pete, this year, Michelle Payne, I'd say she would be one of the most, if not the most popular winner of the Don Award.
Well, she was the most popular winner of the Melbourne Cup as the first female jockey last year, and the horse there was Prince of Penzance?
Yeah, Prince of Penzance, yep. Pete. And on that subject, you brought up the issue of acronyms that I used last week, and I think I might have given you a couple, but one of them was, I said, was the simple number 2, because although it's number 2, there were 3 100-to-1 winners of the Melbourne Cup, and the 2 stood for, I believe I said, the Trump, Wotan and Old Rowley.
So TWO is an acronym. Yep.
Yeah, but now, of course, that's TWOP, because Prince of Penzance is another winner. But where I think I got confused in the haste, the T, I had T in 2 of my acronyms, and the T, that 100-to-1 winner of the Melbourne Cup, was, of course, the other one was the Pearl in 1871. So it was the Pearl, Wotan, Old Rowley, and now Prince of Penzance. But
well, there you go. So for all you trivia people out there, just remember TWOPP, so TWOP, and when that comes up, who are the 100-to-1 winners of the Melbourne Cup? You can quickly rattle it off. So it was the Pearl, Wotan,
Old Rowley,
and Prince of Penzance.
Yeah.
There you go.
And of course the T was the first thing I learnt when I started to memorise the Caulfield Melbourne Cups. And the Caulfield Cup, as you know, started in 1879. So from 1879 to when the Mastermind show was on, there were 6 winners.
Yep.
And they were PTR, REG. And, of course, the T in that's for the Trump, Pete, in 1937.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way in the world a Caulfield Cup winner had started 100-to-1 in the Melbourne Cup. and he started equal favourite with a couple of other horses.
Yeah.
But,
no, very good. So, yeah, Michelle was a very worthy winner of the Don Award. She's just such a beautiful person. I can't wait for the movie. The day that she won the Melbourne Cup, I thought there's a movie there because, I mean, everyone in Australia would know, but she came from a racing family. She has a brother who's the strapper for the horse, and he's a Down syndrome person who's just a lovely person. What is Stevie, is it?
Yeah, and they love each other to bits, Pete.
Oh, yeah, and she's his guardian. There's just so many stories. He drew the barrier, didn't he? That day, when they had the barrier draw. And what barrier did he get?
On his face.
Do you know what barrier?
No, I don't remember.
It was a good one though, wasn't it? That's was what they wanted.
Because he had a smile on his face.
Yeah. And I've always thought the title for that movie would be Get Stuffed, because in a speech she gave afterwards to the media, she told non-believers in the people who believe or didn't believe that she could win the Melbourne Cup, you can go and get stuffed. And I thought that was great. Yeah. So
that made everyone sit up and take notice, Peter.
It did.
So
we've been talking. Yeah, sorry, Dad. We've been talking about other people. Oh, did you have something else to add?
I was going to say, you mentioned the word day before. Of course, the winner of the Don Award last year was none other than Jason. That's correct. Yeah.
That's our famous Queensland golfer who's currently #1 in the world. Now, we've been talking about other people involved in the racing industry, but you've had a little entree into the racing industry yourself, haven't you? Through a horse that you had part ownership in. Now that horse was called
Tempt Me Not.
Tempt Me Not, and you were tempted. Now, how were you tempted to be a part owner of Tempt Me Not?
Well, Pete, I guess if I can go back to when we came over got transferred from Adelaide to Melbourne, because our office was in Abbots Road, Dandenong South, Murray and I decided to, and we loved being near the water, as in West Beach, Peter. And so we decided to come to Frankston, which was only, 10, 15 minutes away.
Yep.
And in a similar way, Kevin Hutchings went to Langwarrin, the next door suburb to Frankston, a suburb of Frankston. And little knowing that, 6 or 9 months later, I was called into the manager's office one day and he said, we're moving to Kilsyth. So all of a sudden, my 10 to 15 minute drive to work turned out to be anything between 45 and 75. So I had plenty of time to listen to the radio, and 927, which was a sporting station, John Blackman, wonderful, humorous man. I'm not sure it was every day, but certainly of a Friday he'd be talking to Roy Higgins. And boy, did I love listening to that as I was driving to work, Yeah,
he's a real character. They called Roy the Professor, didn't they?
Yeah, the Professor.
Yeah. Is that because he was just so knowledgeable about the racing industry?
Professor Higgins, I think that was My Fair Lady or something.
Yeah, right.
But I used to call him Roy the Boy, and you don't want to know what he used to call me, do you?
Ditto?
You ditto, yeah. Oh, Peter, he's a lovable man, I got to know him really well, and he won a couple of Melbourne Cups, as you know, and I think over 2,500 winners and that, and he was so popular. Everyone loved Roy Higgins.
So what happened on the radio show? Did he...
Oh, he brought up about the Hyperion Syndicate.
Yeah. So
I gave him a ring one day, and we got interested in one of his horses. He was syndicating, and it was by a Derby winner, VRC Derby winner. And my darling wife, Mari, said no. The horse never won a race, Peter. And the next one we looked at was the one by No Alcoholic out of Tempting Offer. And we both agreed this is it. And it was a wonderful decision. And just the fact of being able to mix with people, I was trained by Bart Cummings with Leon Carstens was Corsons was the main Victorian Melbourne trainer for Bart. So I got to know him really well, and a lot of the syndicate members. I think James was one of them. You may remember he was a VFL umpire.
Oh, okay, yep.
He was one, and him and his wife. But it was just a wonderful group of people, and this is where Gay Waterhouse shines, Pete. She brings a lot of people into the game in a good way with her personality and everything, and syndicating. So it's not a high cost deal.
So how many owners would you have had of Tempt Me Not?
Yeah, Pete, there could have been somewhere between 10 and 20, I reckon. But see, a lot of them were man and wife.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was difficult to get the actual number, but it was certainly
and then you
at
just
least
pay
10.
a initial fee and then a monthly fee or something?
Then a
like
monthly fee. Every month you'd pay, yeah. But fortunately we didn't have to pay every month.
Because Tempt Me Not managed a couple of wins. Now, I might just play now. I've got 2 races that we can listen to of the final stages. Now, usually in the final stages of a race, where was Tempt Me Not tending to run, Dad?
Oh, he come from absolutely nowhere, Pete, in several of his races.
Well, in these 2 races, the first one he's coming second last at the turn. Let's see how he goes, and then there's another one after that. So we'll just listen to those now and hang on to your seats as you have some exciting finishes in store.
Tempt Me Not has ridden along second last and Slick Ted tails them in. 400 left to go. Elkworm the leader, about a length and a half to Tango Master at Appleby Fair on the outside. Then came Capello. Back behind those is Atfino and Prince Redeemus is under pressure. 250 metres left to go and Appleby Fair on the outside. Just put his nose in front. Tango Master with his run at Elkworm fighting back. There's 3 in line. Appleby Fair has his head in front. Here's Tempt Me Not. He's flying home. Appleby Fair. Tempt Me Not and Atfino. Tempt Me Not put his head in front and he's won it. Tempt Me Not has come on to win from Appleby Fair, and I'd say Edvino's run third. Tango Master in behind them, followed by Capello.
Him as they come to the bend. Roy Giesemann had a nod, and then Tempt Me Not running on gamely Change Alley. Around the turn, Leston Pride is clear, about 2 lengths to the good of Bonamon, and then Tempt Me Not finishing gallantly from Shoot the Rapid. Tempt Me Not coming with a rattling run for Damien Oliver. Ranges alongside Leston Pride, hits the front, and Tempt Me Not after a slow getaway goes on to win it well. Leston Pride second, Bonamon third, and they were followed by Dreaming Away, Change Alley, then Shoot the Rapid.
Sure. Well, how about that, Dad? It still managed to win.
Yeah, lovely memories, Peter. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 2 wins. How many wins did Tempt Me Not have in its career?
It started 9 times, all in the metropolitan area.
This is of Melbourne.
In Melbourne.
Yeah. Which is a feat in itself, isn't it? Because not every racehorse.
That is, Peter, because a lot do country racing early in that, you know. And he had the 4 wins and a couple of placings. But we never went to his first race, but his second race was at Moonee Valley, and the joy in watching him come from nowhere just to win going away was unbelievable. And Damien Oliver, 17-year-old he was, Peter, but you know what he said when he got off him, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What?
The best horse I've ever ridden. But of course he was only 17 at that time. He'd come from Western Australia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And of course he's one of the champion jockeys of Australia.
Oh, yeah. But it was just an absolute joy.
It only ran in 9 races. So what happened?
Peter, on the 12th of August, 1990, I went to Sandown, and he just won. This as a 4-year-old. This was his first start as a 4-year-old. 14 days later, I went back to Sandown, and he won by something like 3.5, 4 lengths, Peter. And in the Tuesday in the Sporting Globe, which was a pink-coloured paper.
Yep.
And I think it was called Sporting Globe, but I think it was mainly horse racing. The headline on page 2 was Bart's Hope for the Spring.
Mm.
And it was Tempt Me Not. Pete, that was in the Tuesday Sporting Globe. That evening I had a call from Roy Higgins to say that our darling horse is down at Werribee with Dr. McLean, one of Australia's leading horse surgeon, veterinary surgeon, and is not well. Pete, he had laminitis. It's a horrible
laminitis.
thing.
So what is
your hoof becomes loose, Pete. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing.
Yeah.
See, in those days, Peter, Ascot Vale, the houses are jowl to jowl, and the stables, it was just not a place. To me, Ascot Vale, and that's why trainers now are out in the country. You know, you look at Lee Friedman and David Hayes, and I'd say mostly every one of them. If not in the country, they're not in an environment where it's all the houses are so close together and everything. You know, in winter time, it's just miserable. And he caught a virus. And but as I say, to go from winning by 3.5, 4 lengths on the Saturday to being told on Tuesday evening that he was in the hands of Dr. McLean, it was just a shock.
So
Peter,
was that the end of its racing career, or the?
Oh yeah, no, the end of the horse, Pete. He passed away they had to put him down, I think, on the Friday.
Crikey. Yeah.
And we gave him a very honourable burial in the horse cemetery in Bergens Road, Roval. Roy Higgins arranged it all. It was just beautiful, Peter. You can call a burial beautiful, but it was, at least we said farewell.
Yeah, well, it would have given you a lot of pleasure in that brief time that it was racing, and not everyone gets to be involved with a winner, so to have that would have been amazing, and the way it won, it was amazing as well. So it's quite a ride. Yeah.
Pete, were you in Adelaide on New Year's Day, 1990?
I'm not sure.
No, we were sitting around a big table in the Ramsgate Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
All of us, except you, maybe, eh? You must have been in Brisbane, eh?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Dad.
But anyway, it was New Year's Day, 1990, up the straight 6 at Flemington. He was second last with a few hundred yards to go and won. But the horse who came 5th in that race, and be quite honest, Tempt Me Not passed him in 2 strides, Tango Master. Went past him in 2 strides. And Tango Master ended up 5th. I think he was second. Tango Master was second at the 200, but ended up 5th. But Tango Master ran close 3rd in the Newmarket that year. So can you picture the class of Tempt Me Not, Peter?
No, it's great to share those memories of Tempt Me Not, Dad. Now, we're going to change the subject completely, and we're going to get on to a scary moment in your life. And that, of course, is something to do with an incident in New Guinea that happened on your birthday back in 1958. So you're a 28-year-old.
Yeah, I turned 28 that day, Peter.
You want to tell us what happened on that day?
Yeah, well, probably every 2 to 3 months we'd get a tanker into Port Moresby, and the tanker is moored with 6. We had 6 mooring buoys permanently anchored offshore, about a kilometre and a half offshore.
So this is an oil tanker, and it's collecting oil?
No, it's delivering refined products, Peter.
Okay, yeah.
And because at Port Moresby we had the 4 storage tanks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. and they were built from steel, from tanks that were built at Milne Bay during World War II, Peter.
So where's Milne Bay?
It's on the western, on the eastern tip of Papua New Guinea, near Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And this Tom Hickling, you know Tom, Pete?
Yep.
He was the engineer, and they cut them up, all these 500,000 gallon storage tanks, cut them up into shippable sizes, shipped them to Port Moresby, and Tom put them back together again.
So they'd weld them back
together.
Yeah.
And but the steel in them, as we found out, was not the best. And so anyway, on the 4th of January 1958, the ship came in early in the morning. We moored it within the six mooring buoys, and did all the work, the sampling and testing of the product and all that, and connected the hoses up, and started pumping. And our first discharge was gasoline into tank 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so we filled that up to within 5 or 6 inches of the maximum height, 30 feet, and then started to discharge distillate into tank 3. And I was down the tanks at Port Moresby were built on hillsides, so we never had a pump to load the road tankers. We just gravitated the product into the road tanker.
Right.
So can you picture these 4 storage tanks in a valley but up high?
Mm-hmm.
And so we finished the gasoline discharge, and between products you do salt water to clean out the product.
Yep.
And you pour the salt water as the interface between that and the next product, which was distillate. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I thought, the goats turned the tap on up near the interchange pump we had for shifting product from one tank to another.
The goat?
Yeah, because we had goats to keep the grass down around the tanks.
I thought you were referring to one of your workmates.
No, so I thought that damn goats turned that water tap on again. So I went up. Oh, Peter, it was off. Went to the storage tank, and salt water was coming out of the bottom, adjacent to where the water draw-off is.
Mm-hmm.
And with the storage tank, you have, I guess, 3 main pipes. The inlet pipe for delivering from a tank ship, an outlet pipe for delivering to the road tanker, with the access to that being the pipe goes into the tank and then goes upwards at 90 degrees. So you're not drawing from down low. You're always drawing from good product from up above.
Okay.
And the third pipe is a 4-inch pipe that goes in and downwards the other way. It's inverted the other way into the sump. So as after tanker discharge, you could remove all of the salt water from the storage tank.
All right.
So after a number of years, what had happened, the movement of that salt water in this light square box-shaped sump, it etched a hole, Peter.
Ah.
In the sump, it etched a hole in the steel. So immediately I got the fire pump started, our water fire pump, salt water fire pump, and started pumping water into the tank to make sure we kept water in there, and before I could make up a decision what to do next. But what we found out about 8 o'clock in the morning, we couldn't keep up enough water. So there was gasoline in the interceptor pit, Peter.
Yeah.
I was terrible. I'll be quite honest. If there would have been a fisherman smoking on a ship out in the harbour at that time, it would have been an unbelievable disaster. But fortunately, there wasn't. So I got the tanker to stop pumping distillate and to pump salt water as quick as he could. So he started pumping salt water. We got it in probably about 15 minutes, and then diverted the salt water from the distillate tank into the gasoline tank, and naturally we got water coming out of the bottom again straight away. So then I had to decide what to do next, and because we had one storage tank ready to accept Avgas 115, 145, that was the era when the Super Constellation started to come into service, and we're going to receive a batch of 115, 145 gasoline for the Super Constellation.
So what's a Super Constellation?
That's a new plane, the faster plane than the DC-6s and all the others that were operating at the time, Peter.
Oh, okay.
Super Connie, they used to call them. And so the tank we had free from that, I pumped from our interchange pump, which was up near the base of the 4 tanks. So pumped the gasoline from tank 2 into tank 4 with a small pump, by the way. But we pumped it, and the ship kept pumping salt water at the same speed. I got it to pump at the same speed as our pump could handle the transfer from tank 2 to tank 4.
Oh, okay.
But the time was unbelievable to achieve all of this. But anyway, we got it done by, I think, about midday Tuesday. And the captain of the ship at one stage says, "If you keep wanting me to pump water, I'll empty the harbour."
So just to clarify, you're pumping water into the main tank and that water is going to the bottom of the tank, is it right?
Yeah, well, it's 1.00, of course, Peter, and the gasoline's usually about 0.73.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then you're pumping the gasoline from the top into another tank.
Yeah,
and this tank is leaking through that hole you mentioned. So you'd rather it have salt water leaking out than gasoline. Is that the story?
That's correct. So I kept the tanker pumping salt water into tank 2 at the same rate as I was drawing off gasoline and transferring it to tank 4.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a long, long, long time. And finally got it completed, and then decided the next move. We had to gas-free tank 2, Peter, and fix the leak up.
Mm-hmm.
And to gas-free it, do you remember Des Corcoran? He was in the John Dunstan era of politics.
Yeah, he was a premier, wasn't he, at one stage?
Yeah, for about 7 months in 1979.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember his brother's name, unfortunately, but Des's brother was the head of the fire brigade, Port Moresby Fire Brigade. Peter, he came out. See, the essence was to gas-free it, right? And normally what you do is you just take days and days and days to gas-free a large storage tank.
So that's to get all of the flammable...
All of the fumes out, yeah.
Mm.
It takes days and days, but Corcoran, the chief of the fire brigade, Peter, unbelievable. He put on all this gas equipment, the face equipment, so as he could breathe oxygen properly. Went inside the tank and blasted. The whole tank with salt water, probably for about 4, 5, 6 hours. And then we did a test, and it was gas-free.
So the test was what, lighting a match?
No, it's just you had a special thing that was flame-proof, Peter.
Mm.
And you'd breathe, you'd take a sample with you'd squeeze a sort of a balloon thing and let it suck in.
Right, okay.
And then you'd check that sample.
Right.
With a spark.
Yeah.
And but it was completely gas-free. So then on the Wednesday, we welded up the leak as a temporary fix, and at least it allowed us to move back and start discharging from the tanker again. And
you'd be a brave man to start up that welder, wouldn't you? Even though you've tested
oh,
it's still pretty scary to be inside a tank. Or are they on the outside? Where are they doing the...
No, in the tank, Peter, yeah.
Crikey, Dilly. Yeah.
But as I say, I couldn't speak too highly of... Well, in Gordon Cleve, the Shell engineer, their tankage was over the other side of the hill at Idabata. Gordon Cleve, the Shell engineer, he helped me out so much too, Peter. But between him and Mr. Corcoran, it was just a wonderful effort on both of them, and finally finished the discharge probably about 4 o'clock Thursday afternoon. And I had my first sleep since Saturday night. I had my first sleep on that Thursday.
Crikey, Dilly.
Not a bad effort, is it, really?
Yeah.
But out of it, I did at least get a letter from the managing director of Vacuum Oil, as Mobile was known of in those days, with congratulations on my performance. I think it was Mr. E.A. Angus Jones. But,
so you were on duty, that you picked that up at 2 o'clock in the morning, is it? Or how did that come about?
Well, when you say on duty, Pete...
You were working at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because the ship was in and you had to be there.
Oh, you've got to be there, Peter, yeah. Because you've got to sample, you've got to do all the pre-sampling of all the storage tanks on the vessel, and then you start the discharge, and you've got to make sure the interface, the saltwater interface is correct before you divert into the tanks and all that. So, no, it was a common thing to completely supervise the discharge of a tanker. But of course, in this instance, it was more than just a discharge. It was a transfer from one tank to another, and it was just in a gas freeing of a tank and welding up. And as I say, it went on, and we finished the tanker late on the Thursday afternoon. So I never stopped all over that period.
But the worst case scenario, it could have been an absolute disaster if, when that the gasoline was leaking out, that there was a spark and all four tanks could have gone up, could they? Oh,
without any doubt, Peter. It would have been a conglomeration. It would have been terrible. Conflagration might be a better word. But no, it was an era of my life that look, I can still remember probably every single episode of it, Peter.
Well, as a 28-year-old, that's pretty young to have all that responsibility, Dad. So
yeah,
and to be making all those decisions and quick. You didn't have too much time to contemplate things, did you?
Oh no, and with tankers, they don't like being held up either, Peter, because they're on a time schedule. But it all worked out in the end. Listen, one humorous aside there, I guess, Peter, with the tanker, with these 6 mooring buoys, a tanker a few years later, Don Lewis, because we had radio connection naturally all the time, and we had a radio, and we 2 radio sets, a transmitter and a receiver, one at each end, and it belonged to our company. And Don Lewis was the person out on the tanker at the time, because we had a person on the tanker, a vacuum oil man, as well as naturally myself on shore. And Don Lewis said, "Oh, Roy, the tide must be coming in, because the mooring buoy, one of the mooring buoys is nearly underwater." Pete, that can't happen.
Because it just goes up with the level.
I said, "Don, please get the ship's crane hooked onto that mooring buoy." Oh, it would have been terrible, Peter. So he got it hooked on, yeah, and sure enough, it had a hole. I don't think we had magnesium protection on the 6 mooring buoys, but we certainly had magnesium protection on a kilometre or so of a pipeline that was laying on the bed of the Papuan Gulf.
And so what's the magnesium protection?
Well, what disappears is the magnesium, Peter. Mm-hmm. The pipeline remains completely unaffected by electrolysis.
Okay.
All of the disappearance goes away from the magnesium anode, which is about 10 metres away or something, and is connected by naturally a copper cable. And every 3 or 4 years we had to replace those magnesium anodes because they were gone. We'd check them, regularly every probably 6 months.
Right.
And then every 3 or 4 years we'd get a diver.
Yeah.
Rudy Caesar it used to be. He's a character. But and he'd go down and hook onto them and bring up the existing old one, and we'd weld and place a new magnesium anode there.
Right, so that protects the pipe from corrosion from the salt water.
Altogether, Peter. Yep.
Okay. There you go. We've all learnt something, and we've survived. Thank heavens. Port Moresby Harbour didn't empty out, and thank heavens it didn't go up in flames as well.
Yeah.
So, thanks for sharing that, Dad. Now, we'll look forward then to future episodes, and also we've got the Melbourne Cup coming up, so I hope you're getting your notes and your study prepared, because next week I'll be asking you for your tip for the 2016 Melbourne Cup. Are you aware of anything at the moment that has got your interest?
I'll do my best, Peter. There's one horse. See, what historically the Caulfield Cup, a good run in the Caulfield Cup has meant a win in the Melbourne Cup or a good run in the Melbourne Cup, and there are now 11 horses. The 6, PER, REG, and now there's WLDM. So there's 11 winners between 1879 and last year. There are 11 winners of both races, which is a feat in itself. But the thing is, that's good. But also, if you run second or third or fourth in the Caulfield Cup, you don't get a weight penalty.
Oh, okay.
Which the winner does. Cops, 1.5, 2 or 2.5 kilos, which I'm sure Prince of Penzance got something this year. And so that's an advantage for that horse. It's because it's not far behind the winner of the Caulfield Cup, but it's run a good race. And one that to me seemed to stand out, and I'll clarify it next time. I'll study it a bit more. But one of David Hayes' horses, and I think you pronounce it Almonquith, something like that anyway. But it ran it finished on in the Caulfield Cup. I think around about 4th maybe. But anyway, I'll study them up, Pete.
No worries. But just to reassure listeners that we're not all about racing. That is one little aspect of your life that just happens to be present at the moment because we have the Melbourne Cup. So we'll ask you for your tip there. But don't be turned off if you're not into racehorses yourself, because that won't be what we're all about. There'll be other aspects of young Roy's life, and we'll look forward to exploring those next week, Roy. So until then, we'll see you then.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Peter. Wonderful.
Okay. Thanks, Dad.
Bye-bye now.